a politician, the church are looking for assistance for him, the neighbors are looking for assistance, relatives, classmates, former colleagues at the working place, everybody is asking for one form of assistance or the other.
So these are the things that are put into consideration before they're being paid?
Because we are human, we have to consider all these things. Now, even with this, that you assume that people are being paid very jumbo something, even at this, many of us get stoned at home, get abused, get maltreated, because some people believe that you are not being taking care of them as a brother, because you are in social position.
In the words of Woodrow Wilson, an American politician and academic who served as the 28th President of the United States from 1913 to 1921, he once said, "You are not here merely to make a living. You are here in order to enable the world to live more amply, with greater vision, with a finer spirit of hope and achievement. You are here to enrich the world, and you impoverish yourself if you forget the errand." Absolutely spot on. Our next one is from Calvin Coolidge, who is an American attorney and politician who served as the 30th President of the United States from 1923 to 1929. He once said, "No person was ever honored for what he received. Honor has been the reward for what he gave." Great. Now, our last one is from George W. Bush, who is an American politician and served as the 43rd President of the United States from 2001 to 2009. He once said, "Use power to help people, for we are given power not to advance our own purposes, not to make a great show in the world, not a name. There is but one just use of power, and it is to serve people." Absolutely spot on. Very warm greetings and welcome to The Conversation. We're reaching you from KAFTAN's television studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Annabel Orji. And presidential transition period are times of excitement, hope, apprehension, speculation, and drama. It is associated with chaos, complexity, and coordination challenges. The incumbent president is not only saddled with the task of leading the country, but also must start winding down its activities and prepare to hand over the presidency to the next president and his team. The incumbent also becomes a lame duck as all the political activities shift to the presidential elect. Now, the president and his team start to feel the fleeting nature of power and quickly start losing the friends of the president's seat to the new man and his people in the block. These political intrigues and melodramas culminate in the final ritual of power handover. That's the presidential inauguration ceremony, which holds on 29th of May of the year of the transition of power. In Nigeria, from 1999 till date, we have had 6 of such presidential transition ceremonies, but 3 transitions from one president to another. That's from Obasanjo to Yar'Adua, God bless his soul, and Jonathan, then Jonathan to Buhari, and now we have Buhari to Tinubu. If you have witnessed the past transition with the pomp, the glam that happens during the presidential inauguration ceremony at the Eagle Square here in the nation's capital, Abuja, the after party and the drama, then you will agree with me that it is more than just a ceremony, but it is also a carnival. But not to worry, KAFTAN TV will bring you all the sights and sound on the said day. Now, let's kickstart this conversation for today, speaking about the 2023 leadership transition, Buhari's 8 years administration in retrospect, and of course, the jostle for the 10th National Assembly leadership with my guest, Kabir Kukandaka, Federal Commissioner, Revenue, Mobilization, Allocation, and Fiscal Commission, RMAFC. Now, stay with me, ladies and gentlemen. This conversation kickstarts after this time out. Join us again. Welcome back. If you just joined us, this is The Conversation. We are reaching you from KAFTAN's television studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. Now we'll go straight to our conversation for today. And our guest is Kabir Kukandaka. He is the Federal Commissioner of Revenue, Mobilization and Fiscal Allocation. It's great to have you on the show again today, sir.
Thank you, Annabel.
Great. All right, now, so we're going to be discussing quite a number of things, but then we'll start with President Muhammadu Buhari's administration in retrospect, looking back at 8 years of this outgoing administration. How well would you rate this administration from the scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the lowest and 10 being the highest, taking a cue from the recent report that was printed on the front page of the Guardian newspaper that reads 17 years after Paris Club relief, external debt rises to $41.8 billion from $2.19 billion during the Obasanjo administration, and then you also have $7.3 billion during late Yar'Adua, God bless his soul, and good luck Ebele Jonathan, and then currently sits at $41.8 billion. How far so far?
Well, you see, let me say one thing. Government is about people, and the people by nature keep on increasing. Between 1999 to date, our population has increased tremendously. And not only that, the demand for social services also triple. And therefore, the expenditure of government between 1999 and 2005, 2011 cannot be the same with the current level of expenditure, because human society is dynamic. Everything keep on changing. Challenges keep on coming. So it is the responsibility of government to meet up with these challenges in terms of security, in terms of infrastructure, water supply, medicals, and so on and so forth. Therefore, it will not surprise me if the level of borrowing at that time was lower than what it is today. And also depends on your vision as a leader. What do you want to do? President Muhammadu Buhari came in. He saw the decay of infrastructure. He saw the dust of absence of this infrastructure. Look at even the national security, the military. The military never had it better than during this time.
Are you saying that the previous administration actually left the infrastructure and the military industry sector in a very paltry state?
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. If you now go to the military sector, go to the military hierarchy, they will tell you they are better off in terms of provisions of equipment, in terms of innovations, in terms of progress. Look at the Air Force. Before Buhari, how many do we have in the airport fleet? How much do we now have? In terms of vehicles, in terms of welfare of the military, you see something has been done there. Even the police, look at the police trust fund that has been set up by the Buhari regime to ensure that the welfare of the policemen is taken care of, provision of modern equipment to fight crimes, and so on and so forth. Go through Abuja, see the massive works on our roads that are going on, that was previously either inherited or they were not there. Look at the Second Niger Bridge. Look at the maintenance of Third Mainland Bridge in Lagos. It has been on and on. Every time there are a lot of massive works on the road between Ibadan, Lagos, and so on and so forth. So our major cities, look at the Kaduna, Abuja, Kano, look at the rail lines. So all these were not done before. So where you don't have the money, what option do you have? Is to borrow the money and use the money efficiently. So in governance, there is nothing wrong in borrowing money to fund development. What is wrong is to borrow money and allow people to steal that money away. So if the money is there in terms of the presence of infrastructure and you are seeing it, then it means you have benefited from the loans. So like I was saying, it is not like, for example, America, the most richest country in the world, and it is the most indebted. They are borrowing money to fund development, realizing that money from tax may not be enough for government to meet up with the challenges of human development. Therefore, you need to re-energize. You need to source more funds so that you can be able to go as fast as people may wish. Therefore, this government, I want to believe, for those who are traveling, for those who are good listeners of news, for those who are students of political science or of history, I think they will judge this government in a fair terms, going by what the government has done. But if you are just sitting down and you are armchair critic without any information, without any research, just coming to conclusion that this government has not done so, you are not being fair. So you have to go and do your basic research. The newspaper you are quoting, the newspaper can quote this amount of money, but are they going to tell Nigerians these monies that were taken as loan, how did the government come to use that money? One interesting thing about this government is every money is tied to a particular project. If you move around, for example, Abuja to Kogi, you see that the project is being funded from the Scoop Fund. So if you talk of the second Niger Bridge, some part of the money that was collected from the Abacha monies was directed there. So most of the monies that were collected are in particular tied to a particular project. So most of the loans that were collected from China are being tied to railway projects across the country. As you can see, we have it here in Abuja, we have it Lagos, Ibadan, we have it Kano, Kaduna, we have it up to Maradi, and so on and so forth. Many of these important places in Nigeria, there are railway projects going on to facilitate the movement of goods and make it very cheap so that goods will come very cheaply to the citizens. So it is a long-term project. We will now begin to realize or begin to feel the impact of those projects many years after when Buhari must have gone. But then some of these projects are not from this administration. They were inherited. They started from previous administrations, though. That is what we term to like the third Niger Bridge you talked about. But it has been there for how long? If Buhari had wanted, could also will have abandoned the project altogether. But as a patriotic citizen, as somebody with a sense of fairness and balance, he thought that that bridge is very good, that it is high time after several years of neglect, this should be completed. And he has completed. You now have to give him that credit. Also, the Kano Meduguri Road, you see, it was started during Abacha's regime, could not be completed by Obasanjo, could not be completed by Jonathan, and now the road is almost completed by Buhari. So that is responsibility. That is the governance. Government is something that is continuous. So the fact that somebody has started the project doesn't mean that you should come and will not complete it. So it is a kind of responsibility, is a kind of maturity that I will now come and complete this project. So it's good for Nigerians that Buhari has completed almost all the projects that were started by his predecessors. Okay, so you're actually saying that better is the end of a thing than the beginning. So whoever that started it, it really doesn't matter but who finished it, the race, right? No, everybody got the credit of what he has done. All I am trying to say is Buhari reserved the right to abandon those projects and start his own. If he has started his own freshly, does that show patriotism? Does that show common sense? Does that show maturity? It is not. But if you abandon a particular project, or let's say it is 1 billion naira project, the previous government invested about 500 million. And now you come and say, I am abandoning this project because it was somebody that started that project. You see, the citizens lose because that project will now become an abandoned project. But we now have to complete it, and the citizens won, and you have won, and everybody has won. The person that originated the project and you that have completed.
So it's a win-win situation.
So it's a win-win situation for everybody.
Okay.
Yes.
So I hear you say that the problem is not borrowing for investment of capital project. The problem is where you have the challenge is when you borrow and those monies are being stolen. Now, what is the situation here? Is it borrowing for investment of capital projects or borrowing that in which the monies were being stolen?
That is what distinguishes this administration with the previous administration. Like I have told you, every money that is collected as a loan has a particular purpose, and the government ensures that that money goes to that particular project.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So now, before we end that, like I said, in a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest, what would you rate this administration in that regard?
Well, you see, you mean in terms of the application of the fund?
Funds,
maybe
infrastructure.
I can say I can give it 7.
7 is very good.
Yes, I can give it 7 because to the best of my belief, all the monies that were collected as loan are being directed to a particular project. And when you go around, you see all these projects are going on. For example, Abuja Kefi Akwanga Road, it is about 99% completed. And it is.
But I passed through that road the other time, and then I was even telling someone, and then the person said, okay, so why does it look like they just go from one place to another, then they just patch the road and they move to another point and patch it again? No, that's what I saw.
No. How long have you traveled that road?
I applied that road last weekend.
Last weekend. You see, there are 2 lanes, isn't it?
2 lanes.
One lane is a fresh one. The other one was old one that was in use. What they are doing is they will scrape some part of it and relay it with a new layer. They will scrape the old one and replace it with a new one. But the other lane is entirely a new one. I am telling you, that project is about 90% completed. You see, the most difficult aspect of construction of road is the civil engineering works. That is the construction of bridges. All the bridges have been completed. It's just to lay the main tar. And if you go through it from here to Akwanga, you see that only few portions that has not been completed. So those portions that you felt they have been patched, they are not actually patched, because they are scraping it. After scraping it, they will lay a fresh new layer and then remove the next part. They are doing it bit by bit because they cannot take it all together at the same time. Okay.
So now that's actually for the debt. Now, how about revenue mobilization and disbursement? As a revenue disbursement officer, how well would you say that this administration did compared with other administrations, starting from Chief Olusegun Obasanjo to late Yar'Adua, and then Jonathan, and then now Buhari? Even though I know that you were recently appointed by this administration, that's President Muhammadu Buhari, no one would a lot of people tell you, we don't expect you to actually not defend your principle. But then, rightly speaking, as a Nigerian, let's speak to your Nigerian conscience now, that will still remain in office even when President Muhammadu Buhari leaves. How would you compare this administration with regards to revenue disbursement? Because now I recall that I had a conversation with Dr. Ono a few days ago, and then he was complaining of how much when people are owing debt, especially states are owing debt, you have the revenue officers, the FIRS, call them to ask them to pay their debts. And according to him, he said that's the reason why you have loopholes and corruption going on, because by the time you start asking them to come pay their debts, then you're giving room for negotiations, which is actually the problem where the corruption starts from. So what would you say in that regard?
Well, you see, on a comparative basis, let me tell you that this government has done very well in terms of the revenue generation. And I'm saying this as a Nigerian, and not because I'm appointed by this government. We have a duty to this country. to say what is right and do what is right. Earlier than now, like for example, when it comes to the disbursement, as you were talking, 90% of the federation income, we rely on the sale of petroleum products and the sale of crude oil, I mean. Now, reverse is the case, where certain sectors of the economy are contributing far more better than what we are getting from the sales of crude oil. For example, revenue from the Federal Inland Revenue Service, that is various forms of taxation, company income tax, and so on and so forth. And then the customs, they have done extremely very well. Even the agricultural sector. So this time around, we have a reverse situation where the non-oil sector are giving more money to the Federation account than the sale of crude oil.
Oh, really? Even despite the flood and all that they've gone through?
Yes. So they are giving more money. Now, in fact, the Federation account is not even getting anything from the sale of crude oil. You remember this Petroleum Act that is in place. It also makes things very difficult now, because now NNPC is operating as a company, and a company is supposed to distribute or to share its own profit after either yearly or half yearly, and so on and so forth. So now the Federation account is not even enjoying money coming from the sale of crude oil. But I'm telling you, Nigeria has fared very well because of the diversification effort of this government. And we are encouraging the incoming government also to look the other ways. And especially that the incoming president is a chartered accountant in his own right. He's a person that is well knowledgeable in the economics, in accounting. I feel that going by what he has done in Lagos to transform the economy of Lagos, I'm sure he is coming to duplicate what he has done in Lagos to Nigeria. Therefore, I'm sure that we are going to have a better government by grace of God.
All right, so now there's been this argument with regards to pensions for former governors and their deputies, that according to some people, they say that it is the quickest point to milk the country dry. I recall we talked about President Muhammadu Buhari's severance payment last time you came on the show, and then we talked about the judiciary and other public office holders. So I'm going to ask you, is there a law, or is it constitutional for individual governors and their deputies to set their own pensions? Like I said, individual governors and their deputies, because it's not all of them. Isn't there a law that states what they should be paid? That's one on the side. Because if you calculate what goes out in the name of pensions for former governors, it is quite a dip in the treasury, which is quite broke according to the Senate president. So comparing the governor's jumbo salary or pensions with where they spend 4 to 8 years, with the regular civil servants who spend 35 years or more, what gives?
You see, coming to the issue of jumbo for salary for anybody, I myself, I don't know. And as far as Revenue, Mobilization and Fiscal Allocation Commission is concerned, we don't know. We as a statutory body, we are assigned with certain particular responsibilities, of which salaries, allowances of the political office holders is the responsibility of the Revenue Mobilization, while those of the salaries of workers goes to Salaries and Wages Commission. Incidentally, and happily, I inform you that I am the chairman of the Committee on Remuneration and Monetization, we started some work. The current law or act that is in place is the 2008 Remuneration Act, which is currently in force. What it is there in terms of salaries and allowances, the president barely enjoy 1 million naira as salaries. His severance gratuity is just roughly 10 million naira. But he is entitled to official accommodation, fleet of cars.
That's after he leaves.
And so, no, that's as a president.
Okay.
When the president now leaves, as far as our law is concerned, he is entitled to just about 10 million naira as by way of gratuity. But going by the review we had very recently, although it is not yet, it has not yet become a law. Under the revised law, we have increased the severance gratuity of Mr. President by 600%. The Chief Judge of the Federation, the same thing by governors and some key officers, while all the political appointees' salaries have been increased by 140%. So earlier than now, people who are earning, let's say, about 800,000 will now earn about 1.4 million.
No, that's what we're saying. That
so
is it actually right to have them have so much? But then even the civil servants do not have this much.
You see, in anything in life, there are certain principles guiding given actions. We just don't do things arbitrarily. You remember that the tenure of somebody's office is just 4 years, while that of a civil servant is 35 years. So somebody will be enjoying a particular office for 35 years, while somebody is coming to enjoy that office for only 4 years. So you see the principles of duration applies there.
Oh.
Secondly, even the enormity of the responsibility, that of a politician, is also greater. I think nobody who is in his right senses will say that my responsibility is equal to that of the president. It is only a mad person at a state level, being a permanent secretary or a director, that will say my responsibility is better or is higher than that of your governor. So looking at the hardship of those offices, to ordinary person may just look at it as if there is no hardship. Go to that position, not only a governor or a president or a minister, be a chief executive of your organization. If people are sleeping for 8 hours, you will hardly sleep for 5 hours. If people are relaxing at weekends, possibly you may not be relaxing by weekend. It will be a 24-hour job. It will be 7 days in a week job. So the stress of the job are some of the factors that are being considered. Now, if you are a civil servant, for example, you are a director or a permanent secretary, you are earning your salaries for yourself and your family. Maybe hardly you give a small donation to your church and maybe even to your brothers. But to a politician, the church are looking for assistance for him, the neighbors are looking for assistance, relatives, classmates, former colleagues at the working place, everybody is asking for one form of assistance or the other. So
these are the things that are put into consideration before they're being paid?
Because we are human. We have to consider all these things. Now, even with this, that you assume that people are being paid very jumbo something, even at this, many of us get stoned at home. get abused, get maltreated, because some people believe that you are not being taking care of them as a brother because you are in social position. So for now, I'm saying for now, when things have changed, because these salaries are subject to, but these are the fact of the matter for now. So people are demanding more from me than from you, because I'm a political appointee, and the assumption that my salary is bigger than your own, yes, it's right. But nobody is irresponsibly being placed at a ridiculous salary level. So if, for example, if to say that a governor is earning just $1 million, is it jumbo? Can you call that jumbo? A permanent secretary is also earning similar thing at the federal level. At the state level, permanent secretaries are earning about 500,000. Commissioners are earning barely the same thing. So is there anything jumbo? I would rather be a permanent secretary than be a commissioner in my state, because my 500 or my 400,000 naira will go to my family. I will have peace of mind. If you pay me 1 million naira as a commissioner, you are not doing justice to me, because to take care of my family and to take care of the people from my constituency with just that 1 million naira, I think you can see the hardship, you can see the frustration, you can see the burden. So honestly speaking, let me tell you that we have a criteria and we have a ceiling that nobody should pay beyond what is being approved. But wherever you media are getting your information that some people are collecting jumbo, it is not known to us, it is not known to law, and therefore if there is any agency that is responsible for checking that, they should please do so. But we have a limit to what we are paying everybody, and I want to believe that there is nothing jumbo about it. So if you're being paid 300,000, I'm paid 600,000. In all honesty and in all fairness, can you say that it is jumbo? Because my responsibility, the hardship I will endure, is more than what you can endure. But
you can't say. We are all Nigerians. We all have expectations, and people are expecting things from us, regardless of the position that you carry.
I would like to tell you, if everybody would like to be honest, if people came to me as a civil servant, they will come politely asking for assistance, and nobody will abuse me. Well, some people will say that he is a big man in our community, he is wicked, he is not helping people. But it is different from that of a politician. They can burn your house, they can throw you, they can stone you, because they feel that you are not, you cannot even go back to the community sometimes, because they feel that you are not doing enough, because they feel that you are earning higher salaries. And nobody will stone you. You have gone to your own university, you have looked for your job on your own. But to them, now that you are a political appointee, you are there, you rode on their back, on their sweat to become what you are. Therefore, they are demanding. So the demand is not equivalent, my dear.
All right, let's leave that, because we could actually go on and on if we continue that. Okay, so now before we go on this break, let's talk about the recent elections that were held across the country and its outcome that has actually created lots of hue and cry among some political parties and citizens. What are your thoughts in that regard? Two questions, and I'd like you to take them in one breath. And that's one on the side. And then what are your thoughts with regards to the election tribunal that is ongoing? How positive, even though some people will tell you that the May 29th inauguration will not hold according to them because they are trying to reclaim their stolen mandate. But then the security advisor has said that if you don't have anything to do with security, make sure you're not anywhere close to Eagle Square. And then some people are still complaining about interim government. So what are your regards putting all of this together?
All laughed. We had an election in this country beginning from 1979 up till today, minus the period when the military ruled. We had civilian governments, and every election was followed by going to court. Shagari was taken to court. when there was a drama in the court about 2/3 of 12 or something like that. Then there was a famous professor of mathematics. We had to brought him to court and decide that gave Shagari win at that time. Obasanjo, the same thing, up till today. So going to court is not new in our political history or in our election history. Anytime everybody goes to election, feel that he must win. He was rigged out. This mentality, we have to get it out of our mind. When I was contesting election as a chairman of a local government of my capital city, Gombe, while I was campaigning, I was telling people that the chances of winning is 59-49. I give my chance of not winning the election 51%. Not because I had no confidence. I won that election with an overwhelming majority. But psychologically, I was telling my supporters that my chances was 51% of failure and 49% of success. So I'll be very surprised when I win. So going to election with that mindset, it is a recognition of the fact that I may likely lose election. So if I lost, I am not taking anybody to court.
So that means in that your 51%, you were not looking at, if I don't win in this 49%, we are going straight to court with that 51%. Because that's the mentality a lot of politicians have.
So I was not willing to go to court. I was willing to to accept the result as it were.
Okay.
If it did not come in my own favor. But the Nigerians, our problem is all of us, we go to the polls when we are contesting election with the thinking that I must win.
And there must be a winner and a loser.
And there must be a winner and a loser. So it means Nigerian politicians are not good playmates. Everybody wants to win at any cost. So at the end of every election, there is always agitation, that always go to the tribunal, up to the Supreme Court. So now that we had an election, and to the best of my belief, despite whatever anybody will say, this is one of the best elections we had and one of the fairest elections we had in this country. My reason is that this is an election where APC, as a ruling or as a majority or as a ruling party, lost 9 states in the presidential election. Governors, 20 governors lost presidential election in their own states. And 7 governors who contested to go for the Senate lost election. We have never had that in our election history. Earlier than now, it was all rigging. Everybody will sit down in his own state and doctor the result and connect with the officials and get the result he wanted.
But there were complaints of rigging. That's the reason why some of these people are actually in court.
There will forever be that complaint. But if as a governor, I can rig election for somebody, why should I fail the election to go to the Senate? I hope you understand the logic. If there is a traditional saying we have a house, a hyena is usually having a kind of diarrhea, all the time. So if the hyena has medicine, the hyena will also take care of itself first so that it will stop the diarrhea before giving the medicine to anybody. So if I can doctor, or if I can manipulate election in favor of somebody as a presidential candidate, why don't I do it for myself as a governor to go to the Senate.
Okay, let's hold on.
So
here.
you see,
let's go on this quick break. We'll continue from
yes,
where you stopped. I like that quote that you actually used. We'll go on this quick break and we'll return. We'll continue this conversation with Kabir Kukandaka. You don't want to miss this part of the show. Join us again.
That is one of the reasons why every majority party would like to have the leadership of the assembly to come from their own party. And that's why every party would like to have majority in those houses, so that there will be smooth passages of laws.
If you just joined us, this is The Conversation. We are reaching you from KAFTAN's television studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. If you just joined us, you've actually missed out on a whole lot, but then you can still join in the conversation. As our guest on the show today is Kabir Kukandaka. He is the Federal Commissioner, Revenue, Mobilization, Allocation, and Fiscal Commission. All right, so before we went on that break, you stopped at the proverb. Is it the proverb of the hyena and taking care of other people? Now, let's still stay on that, talking about the recent elections, and still also talk about the ongoing election tribunal, which is supposed to last between 180 days. So how far so far? What are your regards in all of that?
You see, with this the election tribunal, like I have said, it is very common to us here that whenever we had election, everybody will rush to tribunal with the believing that he has been cheated out of the election. But there are so many things that are involved to get a fair judgment. A lot of evidences and a lot of consideration that are coming into play before you obtain justice from the court. So, it is provision of the Constitution and the Electoral Act that there should be this tribunal, so that in any event, if you felt dissatisfied, you go to court and seek redress. That is an institutional mechanism to ensure that there is no anarchy in the country, so that there will be no constitutional crisis. The court are there to adjudicate and give their own judgment based on their own understanding of the evidences that is available to them. You can go to court. You may have good ground for going to court. When you don't have good lawyers, or when you don't have the good materials assembled, when you are not able to convince the judges, maybe you may not be able to get the justice you feel you should get. So there are so many things in the tribunal, contrary to understanding of many Nigerians. You just cannot go to court and put on a claim without putting a cogent and good argument. No judge will give you that judgment. Are
you saying that the opposition parties who are in court, they don't have a substantial evidence?
That is not what I am saying, my dear. What I'm saying is people go to court expecting that even where they are rightly being wronged, you have to prove your case. That is all what court is about. If you are a lawyer and if you don't have enough evidence, or if you don't have enough witnesses to convince the judge that you are right or you have won the election, nobody will give you that judgment. That's why even the goddess, if you go to court, you see their own symbol, the goddess of law. You see that her eyes is being covered, meaning to say it's a symbolic message that I don't know anybody. Come and prove your case. So depending on how you prove your case is how the judge will now award you. Whether I say we are cancelling this election, outrightly you have won this election, and so on and so forth. So the judges are there to do their own part of responsibility. As citizens, as Nigerians, we have done our own responsibility. We have voted for candidates and parties that we felt they can move this country forward. Now there is agitation or there is contention that it is me that have won the election. How can you say that you have won the election when the INEC could not declare you a winner? When we have officers all over the local government, all over the wards, all over the everywhere to collect this information, assemble this information, and the INEC officials announce the result. But when you don't have everybody everywhere and you now say that you have won the election, I think it's a sheer madness. But the court will do what is right. I believe that we will do justice to everybody. That is the essence of having the tribunal. And also we prevent anarchy, lawlessness, and constitutional crisis. So that is what we are for. Therefore, it's right for everybody to go to court. And it is not right for anybody to start going on the street and making some demands and making of a kind of a strike, a protest or something. When you have gone to court, have faith in the court and the judges. If you can go to court and now you are having protests, what are you saying? You don't believe in the judges? You don't believe in our court system? Or you don't believe in the whole constitution of Nigeria? So you have to wait and get the decision. After all, to become a president, to become a governor, to become whatever you would like to become, it is not the end of life, and it is not going to be the end of Nigeria. How many times Buhari contested? At last, he has won. So if anybody can exercise patience, there is no any law which says that if you are 80, if you are 90, you cannot become president of Nigeria. See Joe Biden of America. What is his age? He is over 80. And he is a president of the most strong economy and a strong country. You can be 80 and be a president of Nigeria. So what is the big deal? As long as there is no timeline, there is no time limit for you to become a governor or to become a president or to become a senator. So there is nobody should be in a hurry. As long as we live, you are free to contest severally in your lifetime. So there is a lot of opportunity for us to be what we would like to become.
Now, let's talk about the colorful tent assembly. I understand that the crisis rocking the APC over the leadership of the 10th National Assembly has got to the point of highest tension when the party's leadership officially confirmed the endorsement of former Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, that's Senator Godswill Akpabio, as the Senate President and Tajuddin Abbas as the Speaker of the House of Representatives for the 10th National Assembly by the party leaders. So what can you tell us in this regard, and where? That's one on the side. I'm going to ask you two questions and I'd like you to take them in one breath rather. What can you tell us in this regard, and where exactly are you turning your own compass towards? Because it looks like everyone has their own anticipated leader.
Well, you see, whenever it comes to election like this, people from different backgrounds share up opinions. There is always agitation that I want to be this, I want to be that. In mature democracies, under normal circumstances, the party that is having the majority in the chambers of the National Assembly produce the leadership. That is in the Senate, in the case of Senate President and the Deputy Senate President. And the House of Reps, the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker. Naturally, all of them, they are first among equal. So everybody is entitled to be either a Speaker or to be a Senate President. Everybody is entitled. But as the practice of democracy, like I have said, the majority party produce this leadership. Okay. And the caucus of the majority party will now decide who is going to become the next speaker or the next president. In our own case, in our Nigerian context, we have a different version of presidential system simply because in Nigeria, we decided to have about 6 geopolitical zones. All this issue of zoning, of having zones, the issue of federal character and so on and so forth, are all kind of innovation. So that to bring diverse people from different regions to come together so that all Nigerians will see that they are well represented. So have the president from the southwest and the vice president from the northeast, it is the feeling of the party that the Senate president should come either from south or southeast. And then they favored Akpabio coming from the south to be the Senate president. Nobody knows what informed their own decision. Maybe it has been long, we don't have anybody from the south. You remember during the PDP period, we had from the southeast. So maybe that what informed the decision of the party and the caucuses to shift that position to the south, so that the people of the south will now have a sense of belonging that, yes, we are part of this government. While we have a Yoruba there, we have somebody from the south, we have a Kanuri from that part, and then in the north central or the northwest, we now have the deputy Senate president. So this is in a way to give every zone opportunity to be placed where it matters or at the centers of the power, so that everybody will feel that he is being represented.
Okay.
But apart from the fact that we are living in Nigeria, if it were in another clan, it doesn't matter anywhere who becomes the president, who becomes the Senate president, who becomes the Speaker of the House of Representatives. To them, governance leadership is just about people, and it is about delivery of quality service to enhance the living standard of the people. So you don't care if an Igbo man can become a president of Nigeria and give every Nigerian an equal opportunity and improve the living standard of everybody. Let it be.
Okay. All right. So because you said most Nigerians don't actually care who becomes the Senate president. All they just want is good governance, delivery of good governance and all. But then, on the other hand, even if you've actually made us understand why the party decided to zone its leadership positions, but you still have some other persons, even still in the party, who feel aggrieved and disgruntled about the zoning process, and there's still that jostling for who becomes the next leader of the house. You have people from the southeastern part of the country, headed by Senator Ifeanyi Ubah, who said that it should go to the southeast. And then you see also have someone from the southeast, that's Senator Orji Okalo, who has given the same mantra that's coming from the incoming administration, Emilokon, saying that he's the one that he should concern at this point. And there's some other people who are still complaining, even from the House of Rep. You have Senator, I beg your pardon, Honorable Wase, who said that no, it is his turn, and all of that.
You see, there is nothing wrong for anybody to agitate. That was why I told you that the leadership position under normal circumstances is open to everybody. And all of them, they are first among equal. Anybody can be a speaker, anybody can be Senate president. But with our madness in Nigeria, we have brought an innovation of this zoning system where sometimes competency doesn't matter. We are just after this from the north, this from the south, this from the west, and whatever. Naturally, what should concern us, who is the right person who is going to do that job. Now, those people who are jostling for various forms of position, they should understand that Nigerians did them a favor by electing them out of thousands of Nigerians. They are not the best qualified people to be in the National Assembly. But yet, by providence, by God, they were given the opportunity to represent their people. One should be thankful of that. Now, coming to the National Assembly, why is it important for you that you must be the Senate President? Why is it that you must be Speaker? Why is it that you must be Deputy Speaker?
Maybe you can help us understand. Why exactly is it so important?
What is special about that? Coming to Nigerian context, because we Nigerian politicians, we are after the spoil of the office. It is about ego. I want to be Senate President. I want to have convoy. I want to have several SAs. I want to have several advisors. I want to have this.
Is it a matter of ego?
It's just a matter of ego. Otherwise, what of we Nigerians that we are not even in the National Assembly? Are we not contributing our own part? So if service is your own driving motive, why you want to be there? So it doesn't matter whether you are a floor member, whether you are a Senate President, it doesn't matter. You give your contribution from your own point of view, from your own background, from your own knowledge. Even at that, how many of them are even giving the contribution? How many of them are even discharging their constitutional function? You look at it, some of them, they are good people who are contributing to the development of this country as far as the National Assembly is concerned. But some are just bench warmers. They are not contributing anything. They are only enjoying the good salaries, good working environment. They are enjoying the privilege that I'm a member of National Assembly.
And maybe the power.
And the power. That's all the paraphernalia of the office. That's why what some people are. But believe me, if your sole motive is to go and serve this country in the best of your ability, it doesn't matter. I know if you are a leader and you have a vision, you want to drive this process, you can agitate. You have seen that something is wrong, that I want to right this wrong. I want to better this condition. I want to better this environment. I want to better this legislation. If you are coming with that notion, you are welcome, because certainly we need to see dramatic changes. We need to see faster development. Let's see what is happening in Nigeria, especially under this outgoing regime. There are so many services. The government award a lot of contracts. The government come up with a lot of programs, but we have not seen much of the oversight function, because that is where the problem of the executive comes. Because the legislature is the eye of the executive. There are people to checkmate, to see what is happening. So if government award a 10 billion naira project and nobody supervise, nobody report, nobody checkmate, that 10 billion naira project eventually can become wasted.
Okay, now taking a cue, sorry I have to butt in there, taking a cue from where you just landed. Now we know that this current administration have actually enjoyed very smooth relationship with the legislature and even the judiciary at some point, but especially with the legislature. So would you actually say that that principle of checks and balances that you just mentioned, would you say that it actually played out during this administration?
You see, that is one of the reasons why every majority party would like to have the leadership of the assembly to come from their own party. And that's why every party would like to have majority in those houses, so that there will be smooth passages of laws. Contrary to what many people believe, that if there is cordial relationship between the executive and the legislature, when there is easy passages of law, some people are of the opinion that assembly is a rubber stamp. I don't want to see it that way. Cooperation and understanding and savings of time. We don't need to waste time to pass a law. Look at the Petroleum Industry Act. It was lying in the National Assembly for donkey years. It was only now that this Ninth Assembly, with the collaboration with the presidency, were able to get that act approved or passed into a law. So previously, because of so many reasons, we stalled the progress of Nigeria, of the development in the petroleum sector, because of either corruption or for whatever reasons. People sat on that law. They could not allow the Petroleum Industry Act to be passed into law. Now, because of the cooperation between the legislature and the executive, you see how quickly it was passed. That does not mean the Ninth National Assembly is a rubber stamp. And we hope to see such cooperation to be extended to the incoming president, so that all relevant, important laws that can move this country forward should be passed as quickly as possible.
But don't you think the reason why
allow the government to act? Don't
you think the reason why Nigerians are calling it rubber stamped is because you have loans coming forth, and then they feel that there is no much oversight functions or checking with regards to these loans, and immediately they just come to the table of the House, it gets signed into law? Don't you think that's the reason why Nigerians are screaming rubber stamp?
I don't want to believe with maybe some minority Nigerians. Some people, maybe in the media or some intellectuals, can come out and say, this is rubber stamp. You've been sleeping. You've been doing your business. You don't know what those people are doing at the National Assembly, how much work they are doing, how much some people are going through sleepless night to ensure that such laws come into fruition. Therefore, it is not right for anybody to quickly say that this is that. You have to understand the process before you know. When you go to police station, when you go to court, take a time and go to court and see what is happening in the court. You will come to believe that the policemen are doing their work. You will come to believe that the judges are doing their work. But ordinarily, some people say, if you catch him and you take him to the police, if you take him, nobody will do anything about him. Go and see what is happening. It is only when you take keen interest and you know something very well before you can comment. Nigerians, we can easily comment on issues that we don't even understand. So to me, they have done the right thing, and oversight function is another. The fact that I understand, yes, you needed this money to do this. You brought your papers. The papers went to the committee. The committee studied it and found that it is okay. Now, what the report of the committee is laid before the assembly. The assembly now pass it into law. So you are just seeing the last action. You have not seen what the committee were doing. The committee were doing a very thorough job.
All right.
You understand? So having passed that, having obtained the loan, now the oversight function is something altogether different. It's for a particular committee to go and see whether this money or this project is going as it is planned. Yes, some of I could see on the television, some of the committees are doing well. That what we are saying is much is left to be desired.
All right, so even as we begin to round up, let's get your thoughts with regards, or your expectations rather, with regards to the incoming administration. We're expecting the 16th president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. What are your expectations, not only as a public office holder, but as a Nigerian?
Well, that is always what I am. I am a Nigerian first before an office holder, and having an office is always transient. You can always leave that office. So it's an issue of Nigeria and our own welfare. I am having a very, very good expectation from Asuwaju as a president based on his track record. He is a man that is democratic. He is a man that knows how to get people around him. He is the kind of person that knows how to mentor people. So there are a lot of people who savvy or who has the know-how to move this country forward. So I'm highly optimistic that Nigeria is going to be better off. I am sure that the much renewed hope that he is saying, we are going to see that hope. What is most important as far as I'm concerned, the first thing the president should do, apart from the insecurity, I would like to see that we focus our attention on the cost of living crisis. I'm always saying that Nigerians are dying. It was recently, I have seen a World Bank report that 46 million Nigerians are facing food crisis. I want to believe that their statistics is terribly wrong. You should go more than 46 million people. We are more than 200 million. I want to believe that over 120 or 30 million Nigerians are having difficult times. Although the cost of living is not peculiar to Nigeria alone. You are a media person, you are seeing what is happening everywhere, inflation all over the world. But what can we do as a government to drastically bring the cost of especially food to come down so that Nigerians can afford 3 square meals? Before then, we now can move forward to see what areas we will hope to address.
Especially even for our staple food,
rice,
yes,
I
bread.
think it's important. When it's important that this issue of food crisis must be addressed. Urgent matter for that matter.
Thank you so much for your time with us, Kabir Kukandaka. It's always a pleasure having this discussion with you.
Thank you, Annabel. Thank you, listeners.
All right, viewers, that's all we can take today. Thank you so much for tuning in. We have been chatting with Kabir Kukandaka. He is the Federal Commissioner, Revenue, Mobilization, Allocation, and Fiscal Commission. It's been a wonderful time here on The Conversation. I'm sure you must have been rightly entertained and enlightened. Well, till I come your way again, from the nation's capital, Abuja, I am Annabel Orji. God bless you and yours, and God bless Nigeria.